Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video. And in today's video, I'm going to be predicting the Kambosos Jr. versus Hughes fight. If you are new around here though and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you're doing a like video, and let's get straight into it. So, going into this fight, Kambosos Jr. is 20-2 with 10 KOs, and Hughes is 26-5-2 with 5 KOs. This fight is for the IBO World Lightweight title. Kambosos Jr.'s last fight was a loss via unanimous decision versus Haney, and Hughes' last fight was a win via majority decision versus Galahad. Hughes' losses have come against Walsh in 2019, Bowen in 2018, Ward in 2017, Ward again in 2015, and Cardle in 2013. But since then, of course, he has been on a 7-fight win streak, so of course a lot of momentum in his way in his career is going with him at the moment, and of course that's why he's got this shot. And well, I don't even know if I call it a shot because he is technically the world champion, but this is, in my opinion, still a shot to an extent, because I think this is, in my opinion, Hughes' toughest test to date, and so that's why I'm calling it a shot, to be completely honest. There will be questions around Kambosos Jr. because of course he's coming off back-to-back defeats, and there'll be questions around how much desire he's got left, how much the defeats have affected him, and if he's still the fighter that he once was. And if he does lose this fight, where does he go from here? Does he possibly retire? Does he try really hard to just rebuild himself back up and just go back to fights where maybe they're not really that important? Does he become a gatekeeper type fighter? Or I don't know, they're the kind of main options, I suppose, but that's where they're going to be questions around if he's more determined now because he's got more to prove, say now, or if he's maybe lost a little bit of love for the sport, or I don't know, just possible questions around all them kind of mental aspects of things, of course, coming off the 2 defeats. Kambosos Jr. as a fighter, of course, he's got that former champ kind of status, so of course he's fought at the highest of levels. He's mentally tough, so I don't know if how bad I think the defeats will affect him. I think he could definitely turn that into a positive. He gives his all, he's got fast hands, he has smart pressure, he has great will, great desire, is a smart counterer, he's consistent, he's very well conditioned, he has a good chin, he capitalizes on any kind of mistakes. That's kind of the whole kind of point about a counterer in general, but he does have that kind of smart aspect of him, and I think the consistency is he'll always be landing whenever there's an opportunity to land, and he's always consistently capitalizing. And I would also say that he's got that kind of snap in his shots, not really crazily powerful, but that kind of snap, and that means that like he's going to be consistently landing that snap, and it will wear you down throughout. And with that very well conditioned frame he has, and that high kind of I maybe work rate, I don't know if that's the right way of putting it or not, but that high kind of output that he can give, it means that he doesn't always give, but he can give. It means that he can go 12 rounds relatively comfortably, in my opinion. Of course, Kambosos Jr. can't be overlooking this fight and thinking about, I don't know, possible rematches with Haney or other big lightweight fights that are possibly seen as bigger than this fight for him. He's not used to being the favourite, and that could possibly play into Hughes' favour. I mean, he's going to have that added pressure, he's going to be seen as the person that should be able to win this, but of course, like I said, that adds more pressure. He's not overly aggressive, he's not got that devastating power, kind of like I touched upon. He's not done the best against fellow counterers, stylistic wise, and I suppose if you aren't really making many mistakes and there's not really too much for Kambosos to really shoot on, and he does sometimes maybe look a little bit reluctant to shoot if there isn't many mistakes available, and that was kind of the case against Haney. I feel like he didn't take the necessary risks that one has to take when they are fighting, especially somebody like Haney, to be able to have that possible success. He was just kind of waiting for something to come available, and it just didn't always against Haney, because he was, especially in my opinion, in the first fight, he was that kind of punch perfect type fighter, and even in the second fight he was amazing as well. So if he's not finding the gaps, then he's going to have to find other ways to find openings and opportunities. His head does stay on the line a little bit, which is definitely not something that you really want to see. It can mean that he's open to counters, and I don't think he's got amazingly good movement to be, in my opinion, but it also means, like I said, he's open to more counters and he can be hit, and especially if somebody's going to a war, of course that's going to go into his favour, but there is that opportunity with the low kind of guard that he can get clipped and can get hit, especially with somebody that might be a big puncher. But to be honest, I wouldn't really say Hughes is known for that. But let's speak about Hughes. Of course, like I mentioned, he has that momentum. He's got that kind of, I suppose, nothing to lose type attitude. He changes levels very well. Something I do really like is the fact that he can frustrate his opponents, and he especially did that in that last performance against Galahad. He frustrated him. He managed to get him up to kind of give away a point deduction, and he was just really getting under the skin of Galahad, and it's something that he would have to do. And I feel like if Kambosos Jr. is overlooking Hughes, then if Hughes can kind of use his techniques to be able to frustrate, then he will. Kambosos could be easily frustrated, especially coming off the two losses, possibly overlooking. It might be opportunities to be frustrated in Hughes' favour. He does take, in my opinion, the necessary risks. He's a moving kind of fighter. He's never really stationary. He's always kind of moving about, possibly better movement than Kambosos Jr. He's used to being the underdog, and so I don't think that any of the lights or the pressure, or not a pressure, but I suppose like the boos or anything like that is really going to play much of a factor for him. He's got a high boxing IQ, and he's patient when necessary, and I do like the high IQ. He's kind of got that fundamentals completely down into a high level, and it's nice to see that kind of old fashioned type style to an extent in boxing, and especially one that's doing so well as well. He's not a big puncher. He's a little bit basic at times. This might sound a bit rude, but it's true. I think to an extent he's not overly fast. He's not overly technical, and a little bit basic at times, and possibly a little bit predictable, but still not really a big kind of negative. He's got that lack of pressure, and possibly that could mean that maybe, I mean, I'm sure he's getting up for the fight, but I don't know, the pressure can sometimes add that little bit extra spite when necessary, and just because he has that lack of pressure, maybe he might have that something to back on in the later rounds. If he is losing, then he might just like give in a little bit, or I don't know. He's not overly technical, like I said, and can be out hit. He's not got a crazy high output, just like Kambosos Jr., to be completely honest, and so it could be. I don't know how this fight's going to play out. It's a bit of a stylistic different type of fight. I mean, Hughes isn't really a counter puncher, so he might lead in more to Kambosos Jr. favour with kind of walking forwards onto shots and stuff, but Hughes has that movement to be able to get out of it, and like I said, he can frustrate Kambosos, and so it, stylistic wise, is an interesting affair and an interesting fight, and one that could possibly go either way in my opinion. Kambosos Jr. is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Kambosos Jr. will win via unanimous decision. I think it's closer than a lot of people are saying. I think Hughes could definitely find success with the fact of Kambosos Jr. keeping his head on, kind of stays online and doesn't really move too much, and is not crazy amounts of actual physical body movements. But I feel like Kambosos, he will just be. I'd like to see him get up for this fight, and I think he will be up for this fight, and I think he'll have that kind of determination to show some more and show that he's still at a very high level. And of course, I mean, he's got victories against big opponents in the past. It's just he just couldn't get past Haney, and that's nothing against him realistically. Haney's an amazing fighter, so there's nothing to discredit that. And I would just like to see a spiteful Kambosos Jr., one that any mistake that Hughes makes, which might be a few little bits, I don't think he's going to be punch perfect like that of a Haney, but I would like to see Kambosos be that really spiteful person, and maybe not be able to get him out of there, but just any kind of error, any kind of opening, just being able to take it and using them quick hands, that speed to just outwork Hughes and just outdo him a little bit. And I think that's what he will do in the end. And then possible opponents where he could go on to fight next. I feel like the lightweight division could be quite an interesting one, especially if Haney does go up to super lightweight and possibly vacate his belts, then there could be options for more world title fights, and there's options here that I'm putting down. I mean, if Stevenson versus Haney doesn't end up happening, Stevenson versus Kambosos Jr. could be a great fight as well, especially as it doesn't seem like Tank's going to be fighting realistically anytime soon, or at least for the next few months. So if Stevenson is wanting to be active and wanting to have still a very big fight there, and possibly for a world title, like I said, if Haney does vacate, then Stevenson versus Kambosos Jr. could be great. Lomachenko, of course, he's coming off the loss versus Haney, but it was a very close fight and a very tough fight for both fighters, and Lomachenko still showed very much so why he is a very good fighter, and so that is a very good fight as well, and possibly, like I said, could be for a world title. Or Martin coming up, and of course this could be possibly for an interim, could be for an IBO, even just for a world title itself as well. It's still a huge fight, and Martin, he's having lots of success as of recent, and I feel like this could be that next step up for him, just possibly just shy of that top maybe 3 lightweights in the division, but still maybe top 5 in Kambosos Jr., and that just what he needs, that step up for him. But anyway, lots of big fights, lots of big opportunities if he does win this fight. And yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you didn't, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.